I thought he was gay, right up until he kissed me in front of everyone. The glass doors of Cole Enterprises slide open with a soft whisper, letting in a rush of cool Manhattan air as Lily Carter steps inside, clutching her worn leather tote a little tighter against her side, her heels clicking faintly against the polished marble floor that gleams like something out of a magazine she could never afford, the kind of place where every reflection reminds you exactly where you stand in the world. And Lily knows she doesn't belong here. Not really, not with her clearance rack blazer and the faint crease she couldn't iron out this morning, but she lifts her chin anyway, because rent is due in 5 days and pride doesn't pay bills, and this temporary assistant position is her last shot before things fall apart completely. The receptionist gives her a quick once-over before pointing toward the elevators, and Lily nods with a polite smile that feels steadier than she does inside, whispering to herself, "Just get through the day." As she steps into the elevator, her reflection staring back at her in the mirrored walls, a girl trying very hard to look like she belongs in a world that wasn't built for her. The doors open on the executive floor, and everything shifts, quieter, colder, more controlled, like even the air knows it needs to behave. She steps out carefully, scanning the sleek desks and glass offices. When she hears it, 2 employees talking just low enough to sound like a secret. "That's him, the new CEO," one whispers, and Lily's eyes follow their glance, landing on a tall figure standing near the window at the far end of the hall, his back straight, posture effortless, the kind of presence that doesn't ask for attention but gets it anyway. "I heard he's, you know," the other voice adds, lowering even more. "Gay." Lily blinks, surprised. Then something unexpected settles in her chest. Relief, quiet, immediate relief, because suddenly this intimidating, untouchable man becomes safe. Not someone who will look at her like the others sometimes do. Not someone she has to guard herself around. Just someone she can exist near without overthinking every word, every glance. And when he turns slightly, just enough for her to catch a glimpse of his profile, sharp jaw, dark hair, eyes focused on something beyond the glass, she exhales slowly, almost smiling. "Okay," she murmurs under her breath, adjusting the strap of her bag as she steps forward. "I can do this." Because for the first time since walking into this building, she doesn't feel like prey in a room full of power. She feels oddly comfortable, like she can breathe, and she doesn't know it yet. But that single assumption, that one quiet, confident belief, is about to change everything. Lily barely makes it 3 steps onto the executive floor before someone calls her name. Not sharply, not impatiently, just enough to stop her mid-breath. "Lily Carter." The voice says, calm, controlled, and closer than she expected. She turns too quickly, her tote slipping slightly off her shoulder as her eyes land on him. Ethan Cole, the man everyone had just been whispering about. And for a second her brain forgets how to process anything except the fact that he looks even more intimidating. Up close, not because he is loud or aggressive, but because he is so completely composed, like nothing in this building could ever surprise him. His suit perfectly tailored, his watch catching a brief flash of light, his gaze steady but not cold, just observant, like he is already reading the situation before she even speaks. And Lily feels that instinctive flicker of nervousness rise in her chest before she remembers what she heard. The word that changes everything, safe. And just like that, her shoulders loosen a fraction, her grip on the bag relaxes, and when she answers, her voice comes out lighter than she feels. "Yes, that is me." He nods once, a small, precise movement. "You are the temporary assistant for the Davidson account." It is not a question, just a confirmation, and Lily nods again, stepping a little closer. "That is right. I start today." There is a pause, not awkward, just quiet, and she notices the way his eyes linger for half a second longer than necessary. Not in a way that makes her uncomfortable, but in a way that feels like he is actually seeing her, not just scanning her like a resume. And it throws her off balance in a way she does not expect, so she fills the silence the only way she knows how. With words, "I heard things are kind of intense up here," she says with a small, nervous laugh. "But I promise I am a fast learner." He tilts his head slightly, almost amused. "That depends on what you are learning." And something about the way he says it makes her smile before she can stop herself, because it does not sound like a test. It sounds like curiosity, and that is new. She shifts her weight, glancing briefly toward the glass offices before leaning in just a little, lowering her voice like she is sharing something confidential. Well, for starters, how not to? Spill coffee on anyone important. His lips twitch, just barely, the smallest hint of a smile that most people would miss. But she catches it, and it feels like a win, a tiny one, but still something. That is a useful skill, he says, and for a moment the tension she expected to feel around someone like him simply is not there. It is replaced by something easier, lighter, like talking to someone she does not have to impress, someone she does not have to guard herself against, and that thought settles in comfortably, reinforcing what she already believes, that this man, this powerful, untouchable CEO, is not someone who will complicate her life, not someone who will blur lines or create confusion, just someone she can exist around without overthinking every second. And as she walks beside him down the hallway, explaining her schedule, her voice steady now, even a little animated, she does not notice the brief glance he gives her when she looks away, the subtle shift in his expression, the way something unspoken flickers behind his calm exterior. Because if she had, she might have realized that he is not nearly as unaffected as she thinks, and that her assumption, the one making her feel so safe, is already beginning to change the way he looks at her. By noon, the rhythm of the office has settled into something predictable, the quiet hum of keyboards, the occasional murmur of low conversations behind glass walls, and the steady pulse of footsteps on polished floors. But Lily's world feels anything but steady. Her desk covered in neatly stacked folders she is still trying to understand, names and numbers blurring together as she types, double checks, then checks again. Because mistakes here do not feel like small things, they feel like consequences waiting to happen, and yet every time she starts to spiral into that familiar anxiety, she catches herself glancing toward the corner office, toward the silhouette of Ethan Cole moving behind the glass, calm, precise, unhurried, and somehow that steadiness anchors her more than she wants to admit. It makes everything feel manageable, like if he can control an entire company with that quiet ease, she can at least get through a spreadsheet without messing it up. You are overthinking it, she mutters under her breath, tapping her pen lightly against the desk, when a shadow falls across her workspace again, and she looks up to find him standing there, not looming, not interrupting, just present. You have been staring at that file for 5 minutes, he says, not accusing, just observant, and Lily lets out a small laugh, rubbing the back of her neck. Is it that obvious? She admits. I just do not want to mess anything up on my first day. He studies her for a second, then reaches down, not to take over, but to turn the page. Slightly, pointing to a specific line. Start here, he says simply. It is not as complicated as it looks. His voice is steady, matter of fact, and something about the way he does not make her feel small for not knowing instantly relaxes her. Okay, she says, leaning closer, their shoulders almost brushing, and she does not pull away, because in her mind there is no reason to, no risk, no hidden tension, just proximity, just ease. So I just match these numbers with the quarterly reports. She asks, and he nods once. Exactly. His hand lingers near the page for a moment longer than necessary before he steps back, and Lily does not notice the subtle shift in his breathing, the way he exhales slower than before, because she is already focused again, already talking. See, this is why I am glad you are not intimidating, she says with a quick grin, glancing up at him. I mean, everyone else up here looks like they would fire me just for breathing wrong. There is a brief pause, almost imperceptible, and then he asks, and I do not. She shakes her head without hesitation. No, you are surprisingly easy to be around. The words come out so naturally, so unfiltered, that she does not think twice about them. But something in his expression tightens, just for a second. Like the comment lands somewhere deeper than she intended, and then it is gone, replaced by that same composed calm. That is good to know, he says, his tone even. But there is something quieter underneath it, something she does not catch. And as he turns to leave, Lily watches him for a second longer than she should, not because she feels anything complicated, not because she questions anything she believes, but because for a brief moment, something about him feels different, not less safe, not more dangerous, just harder to define. And she shakes it off quickly, returning to her work, unaware that across the office, behind the glass, Ethan pauses with his hand on the desk, his reflection staring back at him. And for the first time in a long time, something about this situation does not feel as controlled as it should. The afternoon light stretches across the glass walls, turning everything a shade warmer, softer, but Lily barely notices as she rushes down the hallway with a stack of printed reports pressed against her chest, her pace just a little too fast, her breath just a little too shallow, because she is late, not disastrously late, but late enough that it matters here, late enough that people will notice, and she hates that feeling, the sense of falling behind before she has even found her footing. Okay, just get there, she whispers under her breath, turning the corner too quickly and nearly colliding with someone. The papers slipping, a few sheets sliding loose before a hand catches them mid-air, steady, precise, and she freezes for half a second before looking up. Of course it is him. Ethan, always exactly where she does not expect him to be, always composed in a way that makes her feel like she is moving too fast. Careful, he says quietly, holding the papers out to her, and she lets out a breath that turns into a quick laugh. I swear I am usually more coordinated than this, she says, taking them back, her fingers brushing his for the briefest moment, a light, accidental contact that she barely registers as anything more than passing. Big meeting, he asks, glancing at the documents, and she nods, shifting them back into order. Yeah, and I am trying not to be the assistant who walks in already looking like a disaster, he studies her for a second, then says, you will be fine, simple, direct, like a fact, not encouragement, and somehow that steadiness lands deeper than any reassurance she has heard all day. She smiles, softer this time. You say that like you already know. He pauses, just slightly, then replies, I do. And there is something in the way he says it that makes her hesitate, just for a fraction of a second, like she almost asks why, like she almost questions how he can sound so certain. But then the moment passes and she shakes it off, stepping around him. Well, if I survive this meeting, I owe you coffee, she adds over her shoulder, half teasing, half serious, and he answers without missing a beat. I will hold you to that. The words linger behind her as she walks away, and for reasons she cannot explain, she feels a small smile pull at her lips as she pushes through the conference room doors. The meeting itself is a blur of voices and slides and numbers she works hard to follow, but what she does not expect is the way it ends, not with relief, but with tension, because as people begin to stand and gather their things, a voice cuts through the room. Familiar, unwelcome, Lily. It says, too casual, too confident, and her body reacts before her mind does, shoulders stiffening, fingers tightening around her pen. She turns slowly, already knowing who it is before she sees him. Ryan Brooks leaning against the doorway like he belongs there, like he has every right to show up in her world whenever he wants. His smile easy, practiced, the kind that used to charm her before she learned what it cost. We need to talk, he adds, and just like that, the fragile sense of control she built all day starts to crack, because this is exactly what she did not need. Not here, not now, not in the one place she was finally starting to feel steady. And as she stands there, caught between staying professional and wanting to disappear, she does not notice the shift in the room behind her, the subtle change in attention, the way someone else has just entered the hallway, someone who has already seen enough to understand that whatever is about to happen, he is not going to let it unfold the way Ryan expects. Lily's grip tightens around her pen as the room slowly empties, chairs scraping softly against the floor, quiet conversations resuming as if nothing unusual is happening. But to her, everything feels too loud, too sharp, Ryan's presence cutting through the space like a memory she tried hard to leave behind. You have been ignoring my calls, he says, stepping further inside without waiting for an invitation. His tone light, but edged with something heavier underneath, something that makes her chest tighten. This is not the place, Lily replies quickly, keeping her voice low, controlled, aware of the glass walls, the people still within earshot, aware of how easily things can spiral here. Ryan shrugs, like none of that matters, like he has never understood boundaries. Then you should not make me come find you at work, he says. And there it is, that familiar twist of pressure. The way he frames everything like it is her fault. Lily exhales slowly, steadying herself. Ryan, I said, I need space. she repeats, choosing each word carefully. But he steps closer, just enough to make her instinctively take half a step back. Not dramatic, not obvious, just enough to create distance. Space for what? He presses, for this. His hand gestures vaguely around the office. You think this place changes anything? And for a second, doubt flickers, not because he is right, but because he knows exactly where to push, exactly which insecurities to touch, and she hates that he still has that ability. It changes everything for me, she says, quieter now, but firmer, her voice no longer shaking, and something in her tone makes him pause, just briefly, but not enough to stop. You are still the same, Lily, he says, softer now, almost persuasive. You do not belong in places like this, you know that. The words land harder than she wants to admit, echoing the same fears she felt that morning, the same reflection in the elevator mirror, and for a split second, it almost pulls her back, almost makes her question herself, until another voice cuts in, calm, even, unmistakable. She belongs exactly where she chooses to be. The shift is immediate. Ryan turns, Lily's breath catches, and there he is, Ethan, standing just inside the doorway now. His presence quiet but undeniable, the kind that changes the entire temperature of a room without raising his voice. His gaze moves from Ryan to Lily and back again, measured, assessing, and there is something different in it now, something less distant, more intentional. This is a private meeting. Ethan continues, his tone polite, but leaving no room for argument. Ryan straightens slightly, sizing him up, the easy confidence slipping just a fraction. And you are? Ryan asks, though the question sounds more like a challenge than curiosity. There is a brief pause, just long enough to stretch the moment. And then Ethan answers simply. Someone who does not appreciate interruptions. No title, no explanation, just a statement. And somehow it carries more weight than anything else could have. Lily watches the exchange, her heartbeat still uneven. But something shifts inside her, the tension easing just enough to breathe again. Because for the first time since Ryan walked in, she does not feel cornered, she feels supported. And that realization settles quietly, unexpectedly, as Ryan glances between them, calculating, before forcing a tight smile. Fine, he says, stepping back toward the door. We will finish this later. But Lily does not respond this time. She just stands there, steady, as he leaves, the door closing behind him with a soft click, and the silence that follows feels completely different from before, heavier, but safer. And when she finally looks at Ethan, there is a question in her eyes she does not quite know how to ask. But before she can find the words, he speaks first, his voice softer now, almost personal. You do not have to handle things like that alone. And for a moment, she forgets everything she thought she understood about him, because this quiet certainty, this instinct to step in without hesitation, does not fit neatly into the version of him she built in her mind, and it leaves her standing there, caught between what she believes and what she is starting to feel. The silence after Ryan leaves does not feel empty. It feels charged, like something invisible is still hanging in the air, and Lily exhales slowly, her fingers loosening around the pen she did not realize she was still holding. Thank you, she says finally, her voice softer now, more honest, and Ethan nods once, like it is nothing, like stepping in for her was the most natural thing in the world. You handled it well. He replies, but she shakes her head slightly, a faint smile tugging at her lips. I was about 2 seconds away from forgetting every professional word I know. That earns the smallest hint of amusement from him again. That almost smile she is starting to recognize, and it steadies her more than she expects. She glances toward the door Ryan just walked through, then back at Ethan, hesitating before adding, he does not really understand boundaries. It is an understatement, and they both know it, but Ethan does not push, does not ask for details she is not ready to give. He just says, then it is good you do. Simple, direct, and something about the way he says it makes her straighten just a little, like he is reminding her of something she almost forgot about herself, her own strength, her own choice. I am trying, she admits quietly, and for a moment, the conversation shifts, no longer about work, no longer about the office, just two people standing in the aftermath of something real, and it feels strangely easy, like she does not have to filter herself, like she can just be. She lets out a small breath, then glances up at him with a half-teasing look. You know, for someone everyone is a little intimidated by, you are surprisingly good in situations like that. He tilts his head slightly, studying her again. Situations like what? He asks, and she gestures vaguely. People, emotions. Stepping in without making it worse, she shrugs lightly. Not exactly what I expected from a CEO. There is a pause, subtle but noticeable, and something shifts behind his eyes, something she cannot quite read. And what did you expect? He asks, and she does not hesitate, because in her mind, this is still simple, still safe. Honestly, I expected someone distant, maybe a little cold, definitely not someone who would care that much, she says, then adds quickly, almost playfully. But I guess that proves rumors are not always accurate. The words land, and this time the silence that follows feels different, heavier, like something just beneath the surface has been touched. Ethan's gaze lingers on her a fraction longer, his expression unreadable for a second before he looks away, his voice quieter when he speaks again. No, they are not. And there is something in the way he says it that makes Lily pause, like she almost hears something more in it, something unspoken, but she cannot quite place it. And before she can ask, he steps back slightly, creating space again. You mentioned coffee earlier, he says, shifting the moment, and she blinks, caught off guard before smiling. Right? I did. She checks the time instinctively, then laughs softly. I think I earned a break after that meeting, he nods once. There is a place downstairs. And just like that, the tension dissolves into something lighter. Something almost normal. As they walk side by side toward the elevator, Lily feels that same unexpected ease settle in again. The same quiet comfort she felt earlier. But this time, there is something else layered underneath it, something she cannot quite name. Because while she still believes she understands him, still believes she knows exactly what he is and is not, there is a small part of her now that hesitates, that questions, that wonders if maybe there is more to him than she first assumed. And as the elevator doors close and their reflections appear side by side in the mirrored walls, she catches herself studying that reflection for just a second longer than before, noticing the space between them, the subtle tension in it. And for the first time, she is not entirely sure why it feels different. The elevator ride is quiet, but not empty. The kind of quiet that feels filled with something unspoken. Lily's standing with her hands loosely clasped in front of her, while the soft hum of the descent echoes around them. And she becomes suddenly aware of the small details she had not noticed before. The faint scent of his cologne, clean and subtle. The way his reflection stands just slightly angled toward her in the mirrored wall. Not directly, not obvious, but enough to make her wonder if he is paying attention to her in the same way she is now noticing him. And that thought catches her off guard, because this was supposed to be simple, easy, safe. So, she says lightly, breaking the silence before it stretches too long. Do you always rescue your employees from awkward situations, or was I just lucky today? Her tone is teasing, but there is curiosity underneath it, and he glances at her briefly, the corner of his mouth lifting just slightly. I prefer to prevent problems before they escalate, he answers, and she laughs softly, shaking her head. That sounds like a very CEO answer. The elevator dings, doors sliding open into the lobby where the late afternoon light spills in through tall windows, casting long shadows across the floor, and they step out together. The shift from the controlled quiet upstairs to the more open, public space downstairs making everything feel a little less intense, a little more normal. There is a cafe across the street, Ethan says, gesturing toward the glass entrance, and Lily nods, falling into step beside him as they push through the doors and out onto the sidewalk. The city greets them immediately, the distant sound of traffic, the rhythm of footsteps, the cool air brushing against her face, grounding her in a way the office never quite does. This already feels better, she admits, glancing around as they wait for the light to change. Less pressure, more human. He looks at her then, more directly this time, and for a moment she feels that same pause again, that same subtle shift she cannot quite explain. You think the office is not human? He asks, and she shrugs with a small smile. It is, just in a very polished, slightly intimidating way. She steps off the curb as the signal changes, crossing beside him. Out here, people spill coffee, miss buses, argue on the phone. It is real. He listens without interrupting. And she continues, more relaxed now. Up there, everything feels like it has to be perfect all the time. They reach the cafe, a small place tucked between two larger buildings, warm light glowing through the windows, the scent of coffee drifting out as someone opens the door ahead of them. And as they step inside, the atmosphere shifts again, softer, quieter in a different way, the kind of quiet that invites conversation instead of silence. They move to the counter, Lily scanning the menu briefly before ordering something simple. Nothing expensive, nothing that feels out of place for her. Wow. Ethan orders just as easily, like he belongs anywhere without needing to prove it. They take their drinks and find a small table by the window, and as she sits across from him, wrapping her hands around the warm cup, she realizes something that makes her pause for just a second. She is not nervous, not the way she expected to be, sitting across from someone like him. Instead, she feels comfortable, like this is just two people having coffee. Nothing more, nothing complicated. And that thought makes her smile slightly as she looks up at him. You know, she says, tilting her head, I think you might be the least complicated person in this entire building. The words come out easily, naturally, and for a moment, everything feels simple again, just like she believes it is. But across the table, Ethan's expression shifts in a way she does not fully catch, something quiet, something thoughtful, like he knows something she does not. And for the first time since she met him, he does not respond right away, because what she just said, what she truly believes, is the one thing that is about to become completely untrue. For a moment, the world outside the cafe window continues as usual, taxis passing, people walking, the steady rhythm of the city moving forward. But inside, something shifts in a way Lily cannot quite define, because Ethan does not answer her right away. And that in itself feels new, unusual, like she has stepped into a space where the rules she thought she understood no longer fully apply. She watches him. The way his fingers rest loosely around his cup, the way his gaze lowers briefly as if choosing his words, and when he finally looks back up at her, there is something different there, something quieter, more deliberate. I am not as simple as you think, he says, his voice calm but carrying a weight she does not expect, and Lily blinks, surprised, then lets out a small laugh, brushing it off lightly. Well, no one really is, she replies, tilting her head slightly. But compared to the rest of that building, you are doing a pretty good job. She takes a sip of her coffee, the warmth grounding her again, returning her to that sense of ease she has been holding on to. But Ethan does not look amused this time. He looks thoughtful, like he is standing at the edge of something he is not sure he should step into. Lily, he says, and the way he says her name makes her pause, something in her chest tightening just a fraction, because this sounds different, more serious than anything he has said before. There are things you assume about people that are not always, he hesitates, just briefly, accurate. She lowers her cup slowly, studying him now, really studying him, the subtle tension in his posture, the way his shoulders are no longer completely relaxed, and for the first time, a small flicker of uncertainty touches her, not fear, just confusion. Are we still talking about the office? She asks, half joking. But her voice does not carry the same lightness as before. He exhales quietly, leaning back slightly in his chair, creating space. Where there had been ease, not exactly, he answers, and the air between them shifts again. The comfortable simplicity she has been relying on beginning to feel less certain, like a foundation she did not realize might crack. Lily frowns slightly, trying to piece it together, trying to understand what he is actually saying without saying it directly. And then it clicks, not fully, not clearly, but enough to make her laugh again. This time a little more uncertain. Wait, she says, shaking her head. Are you saying people get you wrong? She gestures toward him lightly. Because I do not think that is possible. I mean, you are pretty straightforward. And there it is again, that assumption, that quiet certainty she has built around him. And for a moment, he just looks at her, really looks at her, like he is deciding something, weighing something. And then his gaze softens just slightly, not because the truth is easy, but because he realizes she is not ready for it yet. Maybe, he says instead, his tone returning to something safer, something less revealing. And Lily relaxes instantly, smiling as if the moment has passed, as if whatever tension was there has dissolved. Well, for what it is worth, she adds, leaning forward just a little. I think I have a pretty good read on you. And this time, he does smile. Faint, almost amused, but there is something behind it she does not catch. Something that lingers even as he lifts his cup again, because while she believes she understands him completely, he is already aware that the moment her assumption breaks, everything between them will change, and as the light outside begins to dim, casting longer shadows across the table, the space between them holds both comfort and something else entirely, something waiting just beneath the surface, ready to surface at the exact moment neither of them expects. By the time they step back into the building, the sky has shifted to a deeper shade of blue, the last light of day reflecting off the glass towers around them. And Lily feels that strange mix of calm and uncertainty settle in her chest again, like something changed during that conversation, but she cannot quite explain how. The lobby feels quieter now, more spacious, the late afternoon rush fading into evening. And as they walk side by side toward the elevators, she glances at him once, then again, like she is trying to read something she missed before. You got really serious back there, she says finally, her tone light but curious. For a second I thought you were about to tell me some big secret. The elevator doors slide open and they step inside, the mirrored walls reflecting them back again, closer than before, the space smaller now, more contained, and Ethan looks at her, not immediately answering, his gaze steady, almost searching, like he is deciding whether this is the moment, whether she is ready to hear something that might shift everything. And if I was, he asks quietly, and Lily blinks, caught off guard by the way he says it. Not joking, not deflecting, just real. She lets out a small laugh, brushing it off instinctively. Then I would probably tell you not to worry. I am very good at keeping secrets, she replies, half teasing. But there is a flicker of curiosity behind her eyes now, something more alert than before. The elevator hums as it moves upward, the numbers lighting one by one. And for a second, neither of them speaks, the silence stretching, not uncomfortable, but charged, like something is building just beneath it. Then the doors open again onto the executive floor, and just as they step out, the atmosphere shifts immediately, voices, movement, a different kind of energy filling the space, and Lily notices it right away. The way people are gathered near the main conference area, the way conversations drop slightly as Ethan walks past, the subtle shift in attention that follows him. And she is about to ask what is going on when she hears it. Ryan's voice again, louder this time, sharper, cutting through the room. There you are, he says, stepping forward before she can react. And Lily feels that familiar tension snap back into place. Her shoulders tightening, her breath catching just slightly, because this is not supposed to be happening again. Not here, not after everything that just happened. We are not done, Ryan continues, ignoring the looks from others around them, ignoring the setting completely, and Lily shakes her head immediately, her voice firm this time, stronger than before. Yes, we are, she says, but he does not stop, does not step back. Instead, he gestures toward Ethan, his tone shifting into something sharper, more pointed. And who is this supposed to be? He adds, looking Ethan up and down with a dismissive glance. Your new boss? Or just another guy you are hiding behind? The words hang in the air, and Lily feels heat rise in her chest, anger this time, not fear. Do not do this here, she says under her breath. But Ryan just smiles slightly, like he knows he has already pushed things far enough, and then he adds, louder now, for others to hear. What? Did I interrupt something, or does he not mind? His gaze flicks between them, deliberately, calculated, and the implication is clear. The tension sharpens instantly, people nearby pretending not to listen but clearly aware, and Lily feels the situation slipping again, spinning into something public, something she cannot control, her mind racing for a way to shut it down, to end it before it gets worse. But before she can say anything else, before she can even move, she feels it. Ethan stepping forward beside her, not rushed, not aggressive, just decisive, and the shift is immediate, the air around them tightening as his presence settles into the moment, calm, controlled, and unmistakably certain. And in that split second before anything happens, Lily realizes something she did not expect. She is not afraid of what Ryan might say next. She is waiting to see what Ethan will do. and that realization alone is enough to change everything. The moment stretches, thin and fragile, as Ryan's words hang in the air, the surrounding conversations fading into a low murmur, all attention shifting without anyone openly admitting it. And Lily feels her pulse quicken, not from fear this time, but from the unbearable awareness of being watched, judged, pulled into something she never agreed to. That is enough, she says firmly, her voice sharper now, stronger than before. But Ryan barely reacts, his focus still, locked on Ethan, waiting, pushing, testing. So what is it? Ryan continues, his tone edged with mock curiosity. You two have some kind of arrangement, or is he just your shield? And before Lily can respond, before she can shut it down again, Ethan moves, not abruptly, not dramatically, just one step closer, closing the distance between them with quiet certainty. And everything seems to still for a fraction of a second. His hand reaches for hers, not forceful, not hesitant, just steady, like it has already decided what it is doing, and Lily's breath catches as his fingers wrap around hers. Warm, grounding, unexpected. Her instinct is to question it, to pull back, but she does not, because something in the moment tells her to trust him, to stay still, to let it unfold. And then he turns slightly, positioning himself beside her, not in front, not behind, but with her, and his voice, when he speaks, is calm, controlled, but unmistakably firm. She does not need a shield, he says, his gaze steady on Ryan, and the room seems to lean in without moving, the silence tightening. Waiting, Ryan lets out a short laugh, shaking his head like he does not believe it, like he thinks this is all just a performance. Right, he says, then what is this supposed to be? And that is the moment, the exact second everything shifts, because Ethan does not hesitate, does not explain, does not argue. Instead, he turns back to Lily, his hand still holding hers, and for a fraction of a second, their eyes meet, and in that look, there is something unspoken, a question, a warning, a promise all at once. And then he closes the space between them, gently, deliberately, his other hand lifting just slightly as he leans in. And before Lily can process the thought, before her mind can catch up with what is happening, he kisses her, not rushed, not forced, but real enough to silence the entire room, soft but certain, like a statement that does not need words, and the world seems to stop, her breath catching, her thoughts scattering, because this is not part of anything she understood, not part of the version of him she built so carefully in her mind. And for a second, she forgets everything, the office, the people watching, even Ryan, all of it fading into the background as the moment takes over. And when he finally pulls back, just enough to look at her, there is no apology in his expression, no hesitation, just a quiet certainty that makes her heart race in a way she cannot explain. And then he turns back to Ryan, his voice steady, unshaken. That is what this is, he says simply, and the silence that follows is complete, heavy, undeniable. Ryan's expression faltering for the first time, the confidence slipping as he looks between them, searching for something that is no longer there, something he can use, but finding nothing. And Lily stands there, still holding Ethan's hand, her world tilted, her assumptions shattered in a single moment, because the one thing she was absolutely sure about, the one thing that made all of this feel safe, has just been proven completely, undeniably wrong. For a few seconds, no one moves, no one speaks. The entire floor caught in that suspended moment where reality has not quite caught up with what just happened, and Lily stands there, her hand still in Ethan's, her breath uneven, her mind racing in every direction at once, because nothing makes sense anymore, not the way he kissed her, not the way it felt real, not the way he is still standing beside her like nothing about that moment was temporary, and she becomes painfully aware of everything. At once, the quiet stares from across the room, the faint whisper of someone pretending not to react, the weight of being seen in a way she never expected, and then Ryan lets out a short, disbelieving laugh, breaking the silence. "You have got to be kidding me," he says, shaking his head, but there is no confidence left in it now, just confusion, frustration, like the situation has slipped beyond his control. His eyes flick between them again, searching for doubt, for hesitation, for anything that would prove this is not real. But Ethan does not move, does not release her hand, his expression calm, unwavering. And that steadiness is what finally shifts everything. Ryan exhales sharply, his shoulders tightening before he steps back. Not dramatically, just enough to create distance. Fine. He mutters, his voice lower now, less certain. If that is how you want to play it. And for the first time since he walked in, he looks uncertain, like he no longer knows how to push, how to win. And after one last glance, he turns and walks away, the sound of his footsteps fading down the hallway until he is gone, completely gone. And the moment he disappears, the air changes again, the tension loosening just enough for reality to rush back in. The quiet conversation slowly resuming, the illusion of normal returning piece by piece. But for Lily, nothing feels normal, not even close, because she is still standing there, still holding Ethan's hand, still feeling the echo of that moment in a way she cannot ignore. And slowly, carefully, she pulls her hand back, not abruptly, not rejecting, just needing space, needing something solid to hold on to while everything in her mind tries to rearrange itself. She looks at him, really looks at him now, her eyes searching his face for answers, for explanations, for something that will make this make sense. I thought. She starts, then stops, the words catching because she does not even know how to finish that sentence anymore, her chest rising and falling as she tries again, quieter this time, more uncertain. I thought you were. She trails off, the assumption she held on to now feeling fragile, almost foolish, and Ethan watches her, his expression softening slightly, not defensive, not dismissive, just aware, like he knew this moment would come, like he knew exactly what it would cost. You thought wrong, he says gently, not as a correction, but as a truth, simple and undeniable. And Lily lets out a small breath that almost turns into a laugh. But it is not amusement, it is disbelief, confusion, something deeper than that. That is not a small misunderstanding, she says, shaking her head slightly, her voice still quiet, but filled with something raw now. That changes everything. And for the first time since she met him, she feels unsteady around him, not unsafe, but uncertain, like the ground beneath her has shifted in a way she cannot immediately adjust to. And Ethan does not step closer this time, does not try to fix it with words or gestures. He just stands there, giving her space, his voice calm when he finally speaks again. I did not correct you, he admits, and that lands harder than anything else, because it means he knew what she believed, what made her feel safe, and he let it continue. And Lily looks at him again, something new in her gaze now, not anger exactly, but something close to it, something questioning. Why? She asks, and the word hangs between them, heavy with everything that has not yet been said, everything that is about to change. The question lingers between them, heavy and unavoidable, and for a moment Ethan does not answer, not because he does not know, but because the truth is not something that can be softened, not something that fits neatly into a single sentence. And Lily watches him, her arms now folded loosely in front of her like she is trying to hold herself steady, like she is bracing for something she is not sure she wants to hear. The office around them slowly returning to its rhythm, people pretending to focus on their work again. But the space between them feels completely separate, like they are standing in a moment carved out of everything else. Because with you, Ethan finally says, his voice quieter now, more personal than anything she has heard from him before. I was not a CEO. The words are simple, but they land with unexpected weight. And Lily blinks, her expression shifting as she tries to process what he means. That does not make sense, she replies, her voice still unsteady. You are still the same person. He shakes his head slightly, not disagreeing, but clarifying. Not to you, he says, holding her gaze. You talk to me like I was just a person, not someone you had to impress, not someone you had to be careful around. He pauses briefly, choosing his next words more carefully. Do you know how rare that is? Lily hesitates, her mind flicking back through every conversation they had, every moment she felt at ease, every time she said something without overthinking it. And suddenly those memories feel different, like she is seeing them from a new angle, one where her assumption shaped everything more than she realized. So you just let me believe something that was not true, she says, quieter now, not accusing, but not fully accepting either. Ethan exhales slowly, his shoulders easing just slightly. I did not plan it, he admits. But I also did not stop it. And there is honesty in that. No excuses, no attempt to make it sound better than it is. And Lily looks away for a second, absorbing that, feeling the shift settle deeper, because this is not just about a misunderstanding anymore. It is about choice, his choice to let it continue, her choice to trust what she thought she knew. And the kiss, she adds after a moment, her voice barely above a whisper now. Was that just part of protecting me? She gestures slightly toward the hallway where Ryan disappeared, trying to frame it as something simple, something she can categorize and move past. But Ethan does not answer immediately, and that silence is what makes her look back at him, because it tells her the answer is not what she expects. His gaze does not waver, his expression steady but softer now, like he is aware of exactly how much this matters. It started that way, he says finally, and her chest tightens just slightly. But before she can retreat into that, he continues, his voice low, clear. But it did not feel like that. The words settle between them, quiet but undeniable. And for a moment, everything else fades again. The office, the noise, the world outside. All of it falling away as she processes what he is really saying. And something shifts inside her, not fully understanding, not fully resolved, but no longer as certain as before. Because the man she thought she had figured out is standing in front of her with a truth she did not see coming. And for the first time, she is not sure whether she feels more unsettled by what she misunderstood or by what she is starting to understand now. The space between them remains still, but it no longer feels fragile. It feels real, like something has finally stepped out of the shadows and into the light. And Lily exhales slowly, her shoulders lowering just a fraction as she lets his words settle. Not rushing to respond this time, not trying to fit everything into something simple, because she knows now it is not simple. None of it is. She looks at him again, really looks, not through the lens of what she thought she knew, but as he is, standing there now, steady, honest, and for the first time, fully visible to her. You should have told me, she says quietly, not as an accusation, but as a truth that still matters, and Ethan nods once, accepting that. Without defense. I know, he replies, his voice calm. But if I had, you would have been different with me. She does not deny it, because they both know he is right. She would have been more careful, more guarded, less herself, and that realization softened something inside her, not completely, but enough to shift the tension into something more balanced. Maybe, she admits, her lips pressing together briefly before she adds, but at least I would have known what was real. And that is where it lands, the core of it, not just the misunderstanding, but the uncertainty it created. Ethan takes a small step closer, not enough to close the space entirely, just enough to show he is still there, still choosing this moment. Then let me be clear now, he says, his voice steady. No hesitation left. What you felt earlier, what I felt, that was real. The words are simple, but they carry everything he did not say before. And Lily feels her breath catch again, not from shock this time, but from the weight of it, the honesty, the risk. She studies him for a long second, searching for any sign that this is still part of something temporary, something situational. But there is none, just quiet certainty, and slowly, something inside her begins to settle, not perfectly, not completely, but enough to move forward instead of stepping back. She lets out a small breath, almost a laugh, shaking her head slightly. You really complicated things, she says, but there is no edge to it now, just a hint of something lighter returning, and Ethan's expression softens just slightly in response. I think they were always complicated, he replies, and she cannot argue with that. Not anymore. There is a pause, but this time it is not heavy. It is open, like a space waiting to be filled instead of avoided. Lily glances down for a second, then back up at him. Her eyes clearer now, more certain. So what happens now? She asks, and it is not just about the moment, not just about the kiss. It is about everything that comes after, everything that has to be redefined. Ethan holds her gaze, not looking away, not stepping back. Now, he says, you see me for who I am, and there is no pressure in it, no demand, just an offer, and Lily feels that land in a way that surprises her. Because for the first time since everything shifted, she does not feel like she is losing control. She feels like she is choosing, slowly, She steps a little closer, not all the way, just enough to close the distance that matters, her voice softer now, but steady. "Then do not hide from me again," she says, and he nods without hesitation. "I will not." And the simplicity of that promise, the clarity of it, feels stronger than anything complicated could be. And for a moment, they just stand there, the noise of the office fading into the background again, the world continuing around them while something quieter, more honest takes shape between them. And this time, when she looks at him, there is no assumption, no illusion, just the beginning of something real, something chosen, something that finally belongs to both of them. In this emotional cinematic story, a struggling young woman enters a high-pressure corporate world where she unexpectedly finds comfort in a powerful CEO she believes she understands completely. But everything changes when her past returns and forces a moment that shatters her assumptions and reveals a truth she never saw coming. This story follows the journey between a vulnerable assistant and a composed CEO, where a simple misunderstanding creates a safe space that allows genuine connection to grow without fear or pretense, making it one of the most compelling millionaire stories about emotional authenticity and human connection. As tension builds with the return of her controlling ex, the CEO steps in with quiet strength, leading to a shocking public moment that changes everything and proves that what she believed was safe was never the full truth, placing this narrative among unforgettable millionaire stories that explore trust, identity, and emotional risk through layered dialogue, subtle character development, and a powerful turning point. This story highlights how assumptions can both protect and limit us, while showing how true connection is revealed through action rather than status, making it stand out among modern millionaire stories that blend romance and realism. As the aftermath unfolds, both characters are forced to confront honesty, vulnerability, and the cost of not telling the truth, creating a deeply human resolution that reflects growth and emotional clarity, reinforcing why audiences are drawn to millionaire stories that challenge social boundaries and expectations. This is a story about misunderstanding, courage, and choosing to see someone for who they truly are, where a CEO is no longer just a title and a young woman is no longer defined by her struggles, but both become individuals capable of redefining love and trust, making it a powerful addition to the world of millionaire stories. Character 1, 35-year-old white male CEO, tailored navy suit, crisp white shirt, confident posture, sharp jawline, clean haircut, modern business style, front-facing portrait, natural lighting, realistic skin texture, professional corporate setting, no cartoon, no CGI, no illustration. Character 2, 26-year-old white female assistant, soft natural makeup, expressive eyes, gentle facial features, shoulder-length brown hair, simple office blouse, modest style, front-facing portrait, natural lighting, realistic skin texture, everyday elegance, no cartoon, no CGI, no illustration.